Here is the minors, the breakout stars,
early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called,
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game. What's up, everybody? Episode 2 of Minor League Weekly, an extension of the Minor League Minute brand on YouTube. You can take in all of our content on Spotify as well at Minor League Weekly, Apple Podcasts at Minor League Weekly if you miss the episode live, which goes live every Monday at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. I'm Cory Sparks, joined by Jacob Smedley for the second time in 2 weeks, and we have a new, I don't even want to say guest, a new member. Also not a new member. He's been a part of the group for a while, but new to the podcast. New if you've been consuming our live content for the last 7-8 days now. That is Sam Strash, new graduate as well. How did it feel to put the cap on, Mr. Strash?
Yep. It felt great. It was definitely, this is my second degree, right? So I've got a master's in communication now, on top of my BA in journalism. The first time around, it wasn't hitting me as hard because I knew, okay, I'm just moving back to my college town and doing the same song and dance over again next year. So I'm not too emotional about it. This last time around, though, it kind of hit me as I was sitting there listening to the commencement speakers. Hey, this is the real deal now. This is legit. You're done with school. It's time to enter the real world, and get into work. And there's nothing I'd rather be doing to try and get my career on its feet than being here on Minor League Weekly.
Let's go. Great segue. Congratulations to you, sir, and to many more successful ventures beyond it, one of which we hope is this channel. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. The most important part, go into the live chat. If you have any suggestions, questions about the content we're covering, we're going to answer you right away. But here's the rundown for today. We always start out with headlines. Headlines today, Rule 5 draft notables. The Rule 5 draft happened just a few days ago. Tarik Skubal talks are heating up, so we will go over hypothetical trade packages, mostly in prospect form, since this is a minor league baseball channel, on how the Tigers could be appropriately comped. The White Sox got the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 draft, so I had a chance to sit down with the single-A announcer for the White Sox, Dan Helote. You'll hear a few minutes from that interview. Full interview will be posted on the channel later this week. Risers, fallers, once again, same deal as last week. The highs and the lows, stock up, stock down, if you will. Farm features, we're rounding out the rest of the NL East. So Sam's got Miami. He's actually sporting, if you're watching on YouTube, a Miami Marlins hat. Jacob's got the Braves. He, for some reason, has Braves merch. And I have the Nationals, so I'm wearing the Expos shirt. So we're running the rest of the gauntlet there, the NL East. We'll probably flip over to the AL East next week and keep it even from there. So you'll get your top 5 prospects, your hidden gem, your strengths, your weaknesses. We will then round it out with our second AAA title team, the Las Vegas Aviators, talking about what made them so effective this year and what could be on the horizon for the blank Athletics, soon to be Las Vegas Athletics, but they don't have a home right now. So they were the Sacramento Athletics for this year, I guess. Jacob, how are you, by the way?
Doing great. Glad to be back for the second week. Again, thank you for everyone for watching, tuning in. Can't wait to keep it going. Got an action-packed episode. And Sam, again, congratulations and welcome to the second showing.
There we go. Good stuff.
I appreciate that, Jacob. Thanks.
All right, so
Of course.
We're going to kick it off with Rule 5 draft notables. And Jacob, I'll actually have you lead it off here with a couple of guys that stuck out to you. We'll flip it over to me, and then we'll have Sam wrap us up here.
Yeah, of course. The Rule 5 draft, mostly pitchers. Will get into the position player that got moved a little bit later on, but some players that stood out to me. We talked about the Phillies and their system last week. A player that switched teams in the National League East, Griff McGarry, the 3rd pick in the Rule 5 draft. Former Phillies guy, good stuff. He has a 70 grade, fastball, slider. He has a good mix. It struggles with the walks. That was really the biggest thing in the Phillies system for Griff McGarry. It really never put it together through the Phillies system. There were hopes of him getting to the big leagues, being a impact relief arm. But I think for the Nationals, this is a team that looks for some pitching help. We'll get to their, of course, feature a little bit later on with Cory and diving in to their prospect pool. But I think this is a good reset for him, get into another organization. And I like the pick for the Nationals, getting a bye on this guy. And another pick is Jadixon Paez for the White Sox, changing socks from the Red Sox to the White Sox. Has great control, a sub-4 ERA in 3 seasons in minor league ball. I think movement, miles per hour, a little bit low, but I think he's in a great situation. White Sox need pitching, accumulating the young pitching, have the number 1 overall pick now, so great addition. Those are 2 guys spotlighting for me.
I like that you mentioned Griff for the Nationals. I'm obviously going to go over him for 1/3 of our farm features today. They have a lot of polished pitching, not to show my hand too much on it. So if you have another guy with not 1 but 2 pitches that are 60 grade or better, usually the secondary pitch not being higher than the fastball in terms of what it's rated on the prospect scale, that sticks out to me. I'm ready to see how nasty that slider is as he goes up and gets that eventual opportunity as one of those players, one of the 13 guys drafted in the Rule 5 draft for the Major League element. I'm going to go with the one non-pitcher taken, and that's Daniel Susac, a catcher. He's picked 4th overall in this draft before being traded to the San Francisco Giants. He was going to be with the Twins. Now he is not. 13 selections in the Major League phase of the Rule 5 draft. 12 were not only pitchers, like you mentioned, but right-handed pitchers. Guys that are pretty disposable. You can also plug them in. Most of them probably of the relief variety. No harm, no foul. If your setup guy or someone in the 6th inning in a low-leverage situation doesn't work out because the game's already out of hand anyway, it's a good way to fudge this draft. If you really want to make sure someone's taking up a roster spot, put them in a situation where they're not going to blow the game. And then if they pass that, you get your medium leverage and your high leverage situations. Back to Susac, though, the one non-pitcher, 18 homers, OPS of 832 looking at last year. That's as high as we've ever seen it for him in his pro ball career, and it was in AAA Las Vegas with the Aviators, a team we're going to talk about later. That was a championship ball club. Right now, San Fran has Patrick Bailey, talking about their backstops, who hit .222 this year in his 3rd year of big league play, and Jesus Rodriguez, who has not played in the majors yet either. Very similar to Susac. He's been hanging around in AAA. He did hit over 300 last year with his AAA ball club. This is a guy, Susac, I'd expect the Giants to ride it out with. You can carry a couple of catchers, and it's not like anyone really has that starting spot solidified. I would call it a wide open competition. So for the one team that didn't go right-handed pitcher, I could see this working out. And these picks do matter. We're not going to talk about him too much, but I do want to bring up Isaac Collins got flipped in a combined deal for a big league pitcher. He was a Rule 5 guy and ended up being a Rookie of the Year candidate by the end of the season at 28 years old. So these picks matter a lot. Susac, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Isaac Collins, but I think the opportunity is there for a bat and a backstop to take a spot on a big league roster.
Yeah, and kind of tying off of that, Isaac Collins heading to Kansas City now to another change of scenery for him. We'll see if he's able to continue that success over in Kansas City. Right now, to me, being a Brewers fan, it looks like Collins might just be a flash in the pan. Who knows? But at the end of the day, again, like you said, change of scenery. Sometimes that's all they need. Speaking of change of scenery, RJ Pettit, the 1st overall pick of the Rule 5 draft, is getting a change of scenery, going from Detroit, a perennial at this rate contender in the American League, to Colorado, another team that is just in permanent limbo. He's now their 26th overall prospect, and he is what you would just call a big man. 6'8", 300 pounds, towering on the mound, according to MILB.com. Picture David Bakhtiari as a pitcher.
That's nuts.
Or any other left tackle as a pitcher. And that's RJ Pettit. And he's got effortless velo, and it's just a wonder to see because the mechanics, they need some work, right? It's a little too calm. Like, think Garrett Cole. Like, Garrett Cole is a calm pitcher. Jacob deGrom is a calm pitcher. Who else could we go with? Like, it's not Freddie Peralta, where he's got the massive extension and a major follow through, or K-Rod in the past. It's pretty calm, but he does need some work on those mechanics to unlock even more velo, possibly. His fastball sinker topping out at 98 miles an hour. And so far, he's had a pretty seamless transition from AA to AAA. AA Erie last year, 43 and a third. Innings pitched, 2.28 ERA with 46 Ks and a whip below 1. Going to AAA Toledo, only 23 innings compared to the 43 in AA. Still at a 2.74 ERA, 33 strikeouts. His whip was just above average at 1.26. I'm not calling him Shane Smith. I'm not going to go that far quite yet because Shane Smith turned into quite the starting pitcher. But I think he has the potential to be that, simply because of the size and his just natural ability, his raw talent as he is. He definitely has the potential to be like Shane Smith, and the Rockies don't know what role they're going to use him out of yet. They really don't. Currently, he's slated to be like a long reliever, like the bridge guy between, your back end of the rotation guys in Colorado, then going into your closer, whether it's Justin Lawrence or whoever they want to throw out there at closer now. That's what they see as Pettit, though he does have the ability to go long. And he's started games before. He hasn't started many, but he has started some before. So Pettit could end up being a back end of the rotation guy. He has the potential to also be possibly a late relief kind of guy as well because of the stuff. So the floor is open for RJ Pettit to basically let the Rockies do whatever they want with him, so long as the mechanics start to turn around. I think he stays with the Rockies all year. Again, I'm not going to call him Shane Smith, but the potential is definitely there for RJ Pettit to possibly be the Rockies all-star selection this year.
I like that because not only is it a pretty low leverage environment for him, the Rockies have bottomed out. Like, they were flirting with the single season loss record that the White Sox, who we'll talk about in a bit, set the season prior, ended up not setting it. They got really close. Sam, I really like the first thing you said for his longevity and just his long-term health. Anytime you describe a guy as a calm pitcher or it looks like the velocity is effortless, I'm not too worried about TJ. Albeit that is quite literally just the eye test. But when you see those more violent throwers, all the torque looks like it's in their elbow, their shoulder's going to fly off. Those are the guys that you worry about when it's, hey, he's going to be our day 2 starter and we're hoping to get 6 innings out of him. But it looks like he's literally trying to throw his elbow off. So I do like that you brought up, it looks pretty effortless.
Yeah, and Tommy John is almost turning into just like a rite of passage now in Major League Baseball, unfortunately. As crappy as that sounds, that's basically what it's turned into, is just a rite of passage. Everyone at some point in their career is going to deal with an elbow problem and more than likely have to get reconstructive surgery. But the calmer you can stay with your mechanics, the better. And there's a lot less stress on your elbow, and it really stems from stress on your shoulder. Being a PO myself from back in the day when I was playing baseball, the less stress you can actually put on your shoulder means that you don't grip the ball as much, which means that you don't stress the elbow as much. So staying calm automatically takes stress off your shoulder, and that's just going to domino effect positively for Pettit. And it looks like, I'm surprised Detroit didn't add him to their 40-man, because the way he profiles, he could end up having a fairly long career.
That's super.
Yeah, and adding to that, we talked about it last week too with Andrew Painter, and using that frame to his advantage. That's having that, using the legs, using the kind of the core strength as well to the arm. And again, you said that with the Tigers, surprised as well. Again, with AJ Hinch and how they like to really use and construct their pitching staff. Very, very curious that this didn't at least intrigue them and make some more difficult decisions before the Rule 5 draft happened.
Absolutely.
I think part of it too, though, to really quick before we segue into the next spot, I think part of it too was that at the stage of the game where they are as a team and trying to keep Skubal in town, they want to bring in the vets. They want to bring in the guys that are proven and are polished instead of trying to go with the guy like RJ Pettit, who hasn't shown much. Granted, he was great last year. He was amazing last year, frankly, but they want to go with the guys that are polished, like bringing back Kyle Finnegan and bringing in Kenley Jansen, who has the frame like RJ Pettit already and has the all-star pedigree. So, again, those two signings could go one of two ways. Either they're both cut in June and they regret not keeping Pettit on the roster, or they both end up being all-stars this year and help lead Detroit to an AL Central title. So I think it was just the mindset of where they stand right now and where they want to be in a couple of years from now. And I think in a couple of years from now, they still want to have Tarik Skubal. And keeping Tarik Skubal means they want to bring in these polished guys that are proven so they can show Skubal, hey, we are competitors. We want to keep you here. Write exactly what you want on the check right in this spot. So that's just where they want to be.
That's the optimal scenario. Those are your Rule 5 draft standouts, and perfect segue, Sam. We had a pretty busy winter meetings period. Pete Alonso to the Orioles. Wow, it looks like the Mets didn't even offer him. Edwin Diaz to the Dodgers. Devin Williams to the Mets, and it feels like the Tarik Skubal domino will be falling at some point, whether it's the next one, whether it's a few weeks down the road, yet to be seen. But it got us thinking here to do a little minor league tieback. Which team has the farm system and just the flat-out resources to pull it off? But I do want to keep the farm system as an element in there, because if I just say resources, the answer is the Los Angeles Dodgers, at least before the whole hard cap conversation happens in about a year's time here. So, Jacob, we'll start with you, just in terms of a team you think is well-equipped to go after someone like Skubal and a situation that makes sense for him to be in.
Yeah, I think, of course, you mentioned the Mets with 2 out of the 3, and then they added a player that you mentioned there. I think we talked about their system last week, one of the best in the majors in terms of top-end talent that you're looking at for the Tigers to be enticed, especially with that top-end pitching talent as well. But a team for me, you mentioned them for Pete Alonso. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles, a team that has had the top end prospect talent. Bunch of those guys have graduated. Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo as well. But you get Pete Alonso. The biggest thing for the Orioles has been the pitching, especially the top-end pitching. They got Corbin Burns a few years ago. But again, in a brutal division, getting a trump card that you can give the ball to every 5th day against those explosive offenses in that division. And it seems like the ownership is willing to spend money. They're willing to move capital to win. And on top of it, you've got a log jam with Adley, Samuel Basallo right now. I think this is a piece that could really kind of push the number on that. So again, we got some trade proposals right now for all of our teams. For me, for the Orioles, Skubal. For Kobe Mayo, a guy that's right now log jammed, a guy that the Tigers can use plug and play on the infield. Heston Kjerstad, another former top prospect, power in the outfield, struggled last year, a sub 200 average, a lot of strikeouts. Think he could use a change of scenery, more playing time. Ike Irish, the Orioles' number 3 prospect, catcher, outfielder, blocked a little bit right now with Adley, Basallo at the top. Esteban Mejia, and the Orioles' number 7 prospect, a right-handed arm right now in Double-A, but had an excellent season last year as a starter. He's that kind of pitcher for the Tigers to add to their farm.
I like that a lot. If you look at the Orioles over time, they have been known, and especially are now, that they went out and got a Pete Alonso. They've got pretty hot bats. They're able to put up runs, but it's been the dog days of a few years ago where John Means was their ace, and that's no offense to him, but pitching depth has been an issue for them at Camden Yards. It feels like they lose a lot of those 7-5 ball games. I like the Kobe Mayo pick, too, because it does feel like there's not really a place for him right now. And I don't know if it comes in a Skubal trade or if it comes somewhere else, but to be fair to him and to also use someone who's kind of teetering on that graduation status right now effectively while he's valuable and he can go somewhere where he plays 120, 140 games out of the year, I think that's really good. Heston Kjerstad, just my quick note on it before I pitch it over to you, Sam, is that he was actually the first ever prospect to be mentioned on this channel. He dropped like a 10 RBI game for the Norfolk Tides a couple of years ago, and we threw a video up on him, and off we went. So Heston Kjerstad will forever be engraved in a minor league minute lore.
That he is. And I'm going to stay in the AL East with my selection. And if any of you happen to follow me on Twitter, I was very vocal about this last year, or last season, I should say, back in June when the Brewers were still skidding a little bit, and there were rumors that Freddie Peralta was going to get the Josh Hader treatment, where he's traded with a year and a half of control still left. I had the Boston Red Sox the whole time for Freddie Peralta. I now have the Boston Red Sox for Tarik Skubal. The reason being is that they should make a pitch, no pun intended, because there's plenty of starting pitching depth that they can send back for Tarik Skubal to Detroit. Now, in my return package, I don't have as many, at least Major League ready. The problem, though, like I said, with the depth, is that they're only guaranteed to lose Patrick Sandoval and maybe Garrett Whitlock and Sonny Gray next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So Patrick Sandoval is an unrestricted free agent. Sonny Gray's got a mutual, and it's a very big mutual. And Garrett Whitlock has 2 club options, and they're both fairly expensive for Garrett Whitlock. So they could make the case to re-sign Tarik Skubal. I just think that if the move is to be made here, they should move a little bit more in terms of starting pitching depth back to Detroit than what I have them for. For example, they have the following is their depth: Kyle Harrison, David Sandlin, Peyton Tolley, Connolly Early, Jake Bennett, who was just acquired today actually for Luis Perales, who ironically is another starting pitcher, Kyson Witherspoon, Hayden Mullins, and the list goes on. So in my return package for Detroit, I have Tarik Skubal going to Boston in exchange for outfielder Nate Eaton, because Detroit is a little thin in the big league level in terms of outfielders. They have their main 3 in Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, and insert center fielder here. So Nate Eaton just as a 4th outfielder. Peyton Tolley, Boston's number 2, and Major League Baseball's number 27. Justin Gonzalez, another outfield prospect. He's Boston's current number 5. John Holobitz is a right-handed starter in the minor leagues. He's currently Boston's 18. And shortstop prospect Starlin Nunez just as a sweetener. He's not in the top 30, but he's got an okay bat, decent glove. He's just a solid player at single A right now. So I got 5 guys going back to Detroit in Tarik Skubal possible to Boston trade.
I like that a lot. Him and Garrett Crochet being in the same rotation is actually horrifying to think about.
Would be nuts.
Early had a good postseason performance too. He got in that duel with Cam Schlittler and came out on the wrong end of it, but that was someone too who came out, got hotter as the season went on. You get the expanded roster going into the postseason, and he showed out. All right, so the Red Sox, we have that as our second pick. The Orioles were the first pick. I'm gonna go with the team that's been making deals with the Orioles. All right, not even. Basically making deals by saying we're not going to sign. We're not going to give an extension to Pete Alonso. Whoever wants him, the Orioles went in and probably overpaid, but still ended up getting their guy. I'm all over the Mets, conjuring up some type of deal for Skubal. We'll get to the return package at the end here, but for 3 reasons. 1, they just let Pete Alonso walk instead of extending him. That frees up some financial room for Skubal in 26 and beyond, which is important for somebody who could be on the move. And ultimately, the whole reason we're talking about this is he wants that extension. He wants that long-term home somewhere, wants the money, and wants the idea of competing to be real going forward. And I do think the Mets, if they bring him in and get some pitching depth along with him and also fill out the bottom half of the order, which we talked about in the first episode, as possible. 2, the Mets are one of the biggest spenders in the league. Actually, for the majority of last year, they were the biggest spender in the league. So in terms of a likely destination where he can get that sought-after extension, I think David Stearns and that front office are well-equipped to take care of him. 3, the prospect crop for New York, especially when talking about top-end talent, one of their strengths, that top 5, they can flex with the best of them. It's up there with almost anybody. Nolan McLean, I think, would be untouchable. I don't think there's a scenario where New York says, here's our brightest pitching star and one of the best pitching prospects in baseball right now. Now we're going to lock down Skubal. I think they would like there to be a world where they have both of those guys. But number 3, Jet Williams. There's your bat power for a little bit. Jonah Tong and Brandon Sproat. It's just rounding out the top 5. It's 3, 4, and 5. I think that could be it. And if you end up going Jet Williams and Jonah Tong, we'll say the 3 and the 4 in the Mets system, plus a big leaguer, you throw in a recently graduated guy from a couple of years ago in Brett Beatty, who was a highly touted prospect. There's your league-ready bat. He's been teetering a little bit. Jet Williams gives you some pop and some speed, most importantly. And then you get your pitching depth as compensation. Two of the better pitching prospects in baseball right now in Tong and Sproat. They've both been cracked into Major League Baseball. It didn't go very well for Tong last year. He was a little inconsistent, but it's such a small sample size that I'm willing to buy in for it. So, yeah, I would go Skubal for Jet Williams, Jonah Tong, and Brandon Sproat, or Skubal for Jet Williams, Jonah Tong, or Brandon Sproat, and then on top of that, you throw in a Brett Beatty. There's your major leaguer. There's someone who at least can prove he's able to go out there and plug in and start for you. So, pretty good mix, guys, I would say.
Keeping it in the East Coast.
Yeah,
he's going east.
And I like that, we're both on this, we're all on the same page that, I mean, obviously the Dodgers are the favorite here, but I like that we kept it with at least one favorite in the Mets. Obviously knowing Steve Cohen is willing to throw money at anything that moves. And Baltimore, with the ownership change, they look like they want to go all in now. They want to get as far away from whatever last year was. Whatever that was last year, they want to get as far away from it as possible. And I think this would be a right move for them. And like I said with Boston, they're more of a dark horse because they have so much starting pitching depth already, and they made 3 moves now this offseason for starting pitching. So do they really need to make a move for Skubal? And I think they could justify it by, again, maybe adjusting my package and throwing a few more of those arms back Detroit's way just to sweeten the pot just a little bit.
I like that idea a lot. So those are your Tarik Skubal possible destinations. We tried not to cheat and use the Dodgers for obvious reasons because they have a lot of money. That's literally all you have to say. And I do think it's not really a hot take, but with the contract expiring next year and teams and players and GMs and all the bigwigs getting together to likely discuss a salary cap and a salary floor, I feel like the Dodgers are going to go big or go home this year. We are just going to do whatever the hell we want because we can before we possibly can't, and it's enforced more. Those are your Skubal possible destinations. All right, we're going to move on to the MLB draft order as it stands right now. That was determined over the past week. Chicago White Sox, it felt like even when they'd only win 41 games in a year, they could not get the number 1 overall pick. They actually get 19 games better last year under first-year manager Will Venable, and they get the number 1 overall pick now. Colson Montgomery got called up, showed a lot of pop. Kyle Teal, some of those pieces from the Garrett Crochet trade are really coming to fruition. I had a chance to sit down with Dan Hiloti. He is the single-A broadcaster for the Kannapolis Cannonballers, White Sox affiliate. Here is about 5 minutes of that conversation, and then you can hear the whole interview and watch the whole interview on the channel later this week. Okay, so this is Minor League Weekly, Minor League Minute YouTube channel as well. Cory Sparks here with you. The White Sox, a lot's been going on at the winter meetings, have the first overall pick in the 2026 draft. They saw a lot of improvement in 2025 compared to the 2024 season. And so we're welcoming our friend Dan Hiloti onto the channel. He's the play-by-play broadcaster for the Kannapolis Cannonballers, single-A affiliate of the White Sox. Dan, you've got a pretty busy schedule going on in the offseason. You're celebrating Christmas. You got different things going on in and around the office, so I appreciate you coming on, man. How are you doing today?
Hey, how are you? It's been a fun time around here in Kannapolis. We're gearing up for Christmas and the New Year's, and by the time we know it, we'll be less than 100 days from opening day, and we'll be firing the pipes up again for the microphone on the good old MILB TV.
Super excited to hear you again and to see those highlights flying across my feed. Let's start with initial reaction, man. Your post was actually one of the first times I saw it on my timeline. Yesterday, the day before we're recording this, MLB Draft Lottery goes down, goes through its process, and it's the Chicago White Sox that get the first overall pick in the 2026 draft. Your first reaction when you saw the news, I'm sure your head was spinning a little bit, knowing you're going to see this person pretty soon.
Yeah, first thing that came to my mind was, oh crud, I better start prepping already. I mean, we're still months and months away from the draft, but already, I mean, I'm going to have to keep an eye on this very sharp. Being the single-A affiliate, it will be one of the first stops potentially for whoever the White Sox go with in the first overall pick. We'll see how it transpires. They could completely skip us, right? It happened a couple of years ago with Hagen Smith. Completely skipping Kannapolis, going right to Winston-Salem. So it could be one of those situations. But regardless, I'd rather have and not need prep than need prep and not have it. So staying prepared and staying vigilant in preparation along the way. But first reaction was definitely excitement and oh crud, I better get ready.
Kind of have that kick of urgency in there of like, oh, this is about to be a very, very big deal before the draft comes up in a handful of months. You've got time to prep. And okay, I don't want to speculate too much, right? But this is a name that's been popping up as the consensus favorite for the number 1 overall pick. Rock Chalowski is the name that keeps popping up on mock draft boards as the consensus number 1 option. Before the draft order was even determined, this is the name that was popping up out of UCLA. Where was your knowledge on him beforehand, and how much in the last 24 hours leading up to this conversation have you just been flying through Chalowski highlight tape?
I'm very familiar with Rock Chalowski. He actually has made a stop in Kannapolis before. I've called a game with Rock Chalowski before. He was part of Team USA, the collegiate national team over the summer, and we're blessed here in Kannapolis to get a collegiate national team game over the summer around July 4th every year. So really exciting time every year to have Team USA out and get to have them around and start seeing some of these top prospects. And Rock was definitely a cornerstone of that infield for USA baseball this summer. And it was really fun to get to see him here in Kannapolis for one game. It was super chill. It was a laid back game, and it was cut short. Unfortunately, we got through about 5 innings of that game and then got dumped on with some rain. But in the 5 innings I saw, Rock Chalowski was super impressed. Kid definitely shows a lot of the skill needed for that shortstop position. He plays it at a very elite level. I was impressed with his fielding and just overall his IQ, I think, is off the charts. You could really kind of gather that just watching him play baseball.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So you've had a front row seat to him already, and you've seen him in person. And my next question was going to be what stuck out most about him. Seems like a pretty well-rounded athlete from what I've seen, too. So you're the broadcaster in Kannapolis. What's your excitement level knowing that Atrium Health Ballpark could have another generational talent on the way in a few months' time?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun. The way I look at it every day is we have generational talent coming through every day.
Yeah.
All of these guys are super talented, and they all have different stories and different journeys that they've taken to get to Kannapolis. And I just am blessed to be the person that tells the stories along the way, right? So they're kind of busy playing the game, so I'm the one that you unfortunately have to hear on the microphone telling the stories of the game and of the players that are playing it. So every day it's a blessing to call games in Kannapolis and seeing this talent that comes through the White Sox org. The last 2 years has really been fun. My first season in 2022 as the full-time voice, we had Colson Montgomery, obviously, who's making waves on the South Side. And even this most recent year, I mean, so many top prospects coming through Kannapolis, and it's been such a fun time around here. It's been really a joy to continue to tell the story and to tell these fans, right, in this area about the amount of talent that's coming through, and to say, hey, like the guy that's the starting shortstop for the Chicago White Sox, he was right there, like across the street a couple of years ago. So it's always a fun time around here.
All right, huge thank you to Dan for taking the time to talk to me. I literally called him like an hour after the draft and said, hey, you want to jump on my YouTube channel on the second ever podcast episode about minor league baseball? And he did not hesitate. So appreciate Dan a ton. Again, the full interview is going to be available on this channel later this week, next couple of days. It's about 15 minutes. You heard us talking a little bit about Rock Chalowski, who Dan has actually seen in person in Kannapolis because he was playing for Team USA at his respective age division. We also talk about the guys that were just brought up, some members of the Garrett Crochet trade, like Kyle Teal, like Chase Mydroth, like Braden Montgomery, who was probably the rawest of all of those prospects, and how quickly can the White Sox turn it around. So if you're a baseball hardo and you're really curious about how quickly a 41 and 121 baseball team can be rescued and how it starts with opportunities like this at the draft, really cool conversation with Dan. That'll be out in a couple of days. All right, back to the live version of Minor League Weekly. Boys, just looking up and down. I don't have too much else on the MLB draft order. If you do in the live chat, feel free to chime in. The Rockies got 10th. The Rockies are picking 10th.
Youch.
After finishing dead last by a wide margin. The lottery screwed them. Like,
so tough.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe that.
Yeah.
Just insult to injury. I feel like it's just residuals from Dick Monfort trading away Nolan Arenado for table scraps a few years ago. It's just residual effect from that.
The butterfly effect. Yeah, it's continuing. Yeah, the top 10 right now, if you haven't looked yet, the MLB draft order just came out a few days ago at winter meetings. It's the Sox, the Rays at 2, which is actually pretty cool. They called up Chandler Simpson last year, and he's probably going to flirt with the stolen base record this year or get
Another
really
channel
close to
regular.
Yeah, another channel regular. The Twins are 3rd. They sold everybody off this year at the deadline. Giants are 4th. Pirates are 5th. Kansas City 6th, that we just talked about. The Orioles are 7th. Athletics are 8th. Braves are 9th. The Colorado Rockies are all the way down there. At 10th, that is the full run of the top 10 draft order, but really honing in on the White Sox. They're an interesting scenario. They have a very good farm. They've got strong pitching prospects like a Hagen Smith, like a Noah Schultz, who could be ETAing in the next year or two. Super excited to see what they do. All right, our next segment, as we usually do on this show, risers and fallers. And a lot of creative freedom here because it's December, so there's not a whole lot of baseball being played. You can look back at the prior season. Sam, Jacob, and I did like wardrobe nightmares last week with some design sweat stains was that Louisville? I think it was Louisville, right?
Louisville, yeah, the humidity.
The humidity.
Yep, the humidity.
Where they actually print sweat stains on there. And I went with Somerset. They're going with a 19-letter nickname that I can't even repeat right now. It was like the something sesquicentennials, and I'm probably not doing it justice. So risers and fallers, Jacob, we'll start with you. For risers, we'll go down the line, and then we'll go with who we're stocked down on going forward.
Yeah, well, I'll keep it right with the NL East. Again, our NL East episode the last 2 weeks talked about the Mets earlier, Cory. You did with the Skubal trade packages. I'm going to keep it right here with another prospect that you didn't mention, a riser, with Carson Benj. We talked last week in our top 5 with the Mets. Last season, a slash line of 281, 385, 472 across Double-A. Struggled a little bit in Triple-A after a late season promotion. 3 home runs, 13 RBIs in 24 late season games. But I think right now, again, looking at the Mets, talking about Brandon Nimmo out the door to the Rangers in a trade earlier this offseason. Don't know what they're going to do with Jeff McNeil. He's a guy that's a trade target for a handful of teams. So I think Benj, maybe he's not a guy that gets, again, with the service time manipulation that a lot of these teams like to do. He could be someone that it's maybe not the first month, but maybe it's a few weeks into the year. Right now, looking at the Mets outfield, it's Jeff McNeil, it's Tyrone Taylor, and Juan Soto. That is the outfield right now, and that's it. No free agents, so there's an opportunity for Benj to crack that list, at least in the few weeks into the season. And the faller for me is the Rangers farm system as a whole. And going back to some transactions, Merrill Kelly signing back with the Diamondbacks. The Rangers traded 3 of their top 15 prospects this past trade deadline to bring in Kelly for a half-a-year rental. Right now, the Rangers, last season, they were ranked 26th in the majors in prospect rankings. So, I mean, yeah, it's not looking good. Kelly going out the door, and they could use some more help. Again, Sebastian Walcott is amazing, but they've got some other areas of need in that farm system.
Tough. Yeah, the Merrill Kelly, I'm glad you brought that back up. Did not do them any justice. They've been bottom 10 in prospect rankings for a bit. A lot is riding on Sebastian Walcott being Major League ready when they ultimately call him up and being that spark that they want and need on that offense. All right, I'll do my riser and faller here, then we'll kick it to Sam. Riser, I have a weird obsession with Termarr Johnson in the Pirates system, and I'll explain why. He was the star player for the single-A Bradenton Marauders when my buddy called their games 2 years ago. So when I would support him and listen to him, shout out Ben Picorni, I would always hear about the first-round pick from a couple of years ago in Termarr Johnson. And then I would talk to him on the phone, and he's a pretty raw prospect at the time. The strikeout rate was relatively high, and the power was there, but he's got a pretty compact frame. So you're kind of curious to see what he's going to pan out to be. Is he going to be a power, all gas, no brakes, high strikeout rate? Is he going to be a guy who flashes the speed that we kind of saw in his prospect profile when he was coming on? And then I didn't check on him for a while. Ben is no longer calling for them. I'm still kind of looking at the Pirates prospects because I think it's an interesting situation with the payroll discussion that we'll inevitably be having here in the next year or so. But then I look back at his 2025 season. Termarr Johnson's really cut the strikeouts down, which is promising to see. Again, first round pick for Pittsburgh in the 2022 MLB draft. Power was impressive at the start, but again, that K rate was too high. I check in on him earlier this week, and he's up to AA Altoona in the Pirates system now. Hit 272. The average was up. OPS is down a bit, and I think that's just approach. He's not swinging for the fences anymore. The average is up, and he stole 20 bags. Strikeout rate below 20%. You can get below like 22, 24%, wherever that average is at right now. I know it's AA, but that's the type of progression that I think is really promising. They're going up the ladder, and the strikeout rate is going down as they see more and more difficult pitching. At the time he was drafted, he was an 18-year-old prospect who swung it a lot. So seeing that progression's good. And I don't know if you guys heard the audio from Paul Skeens about a week ago, but he was interviewed just talking about the Pirates offseason moves, saying, hey, congrats on the Cy Young, but you do have a sub-2 ERA, and you were 10-10 this year. What needs to be done? And he all but said, we need run support. He goes, our front office and the guys back in Pittsburgh know what the needs for this organization are, and we'll see what happens. He's literally still like 4 years from arbitration. But that's someone, I think, as subtly as you can, saying, we need some bats because I'm not going 10-10 again next year when I'm the best pitcher in frickin' baseball. Otherwise, I'm going somewhere else. And he should feel that way. If you are the caliber of talent that Paul Skeens is, and you're that good at what you do, you want to compete for titles and not for 75-win seasons. All that my roundabout way to say, Termarr Johnson could be one of those keys internally where the Pirates don't have to worry about hugging up a ton of their prospects and going out and trying to get another established bat and signing someone to like a Brian Reynolds contract. My faller, I feel old, so it's me. I'm looking around the Reds, speaking of teams that need offensive output and have really good pitching, looking around the Reds' top prospects, and I'll never forget the day I'm combing through the MLB Top 100 Prospects list. I click on Steele Hall, one of their bright young hitters for the Reds. He's number 79 overall at the time we're recording this. He was born in 2007. I was in first grade, and this guy is playing professional baseball. And I'm talking about it, which is still pretty cool. But just nuts that there's guys out there right now playing at the highest level in the top 0.1% when you look at everyone who tries to succeed at this sport. And they were born in 2007. Like, what was going on in 2007? It was, I'm a Chicago fan, so like Derrick Rose was about to get drafted, I guess. What were you guys doing in 2007? Also probably first grade? Rocktober. Yeah.
Rocktober.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was very early elementary school. Same here. So that's I also feel like you do. You know, the knee started acting up today for whatever reason.
Oh, great.
So we're slowly verging on that. I'll go to my riser. I have Emmanuel Rodriguez. He's MLB's number 69 overall. He's Minnesota's number 4, an outfielder. Sticking on the outfield track here, like we did with Carson Bench. In 18 games in the Dominican Winter League right now, he had a 1063 OPS and 4 home runs. In 52 games last season, all at AAA St. Paul, he had an 852 OPS. So the bat is starting to come around a little more for Emmanuel Rodriguez. And to go from there, the Twins, like we said earlier, they did like almost a hard reset on their entire organization at the trade deadline. And revamped the entire farm system, turned things around. I get Walker Jenkins as the number 1 overall prospect in the Twins system right now, but Emmanuel Rodriguez is poised to be on the big league roster if he has a good spring. I have no doubts that he can beat out a guy like Alan Rodin, who was acquired from the Blue Jays, or a guy like Cole Sands, or even like Austin Martin, and keep Austin Martin on the infield permanently. I have no doubts in my mind that could happen with a strong spring from Emmanuel Rodriguez. He just needs to stay healthy and just start elevating the ball a little bit more. Just get the ball in the air a little bit more. He's a hard hitter. He's got a good hard hit percentage. He has the potential to be Minnesota's next franchise outfielder if he can just elevate the ball a little bit more and stay off the injured list. As for my faller, it's not a true fall by definition, and nor is he, I mean, he's split time between the minors and majors the last 2 seasons. He only has 102 big league games under his belt, so I feel like he's still he's not a true minor leaguer, but he's still inexperienced enough to bring him into this. Jacob, you talked about him in your Tarik Skubal trade predictions, but it's time to get ready to learn something other than Baltimore for Coby Mayo. I was between two guys for this because I had my heart set on someone on Baltimore's roster. I was between Dylan Beavers and Coby Mayo. And I'm riding with Coby Mayo simply because Beavers' bat at AAA last year was just that good. There's a lot of position blocks going on in Baltimore right now. We talked about it when Taylor Ward got moved from LA to Baltimore and just added another position block in the outfield, right? Where does Tyler O'Neill go? Where does Dylan Beavers go? I think Beavers stays. I think there's 12 guys, 11 or 12 guys that you can make the case for a roster spot right now, and none of them are Coby Mayo. So I think we could see Coby Mayo being a guy that, like Jacob said, gets moved for Tarik Skubal, or maybe you find some other spot on the roster that you can improve. Maybe add a back end of the bullpen kind of guy to go with Felix Bautista, right? Maybe Coby Mayo just wants out and you make a smaller trade. Maybe Coby Mayo is the best player in that deal and he could go to a team like Arizona or a team like Houston or insert other teams here that could use a younger corner infielder like that. But again, Taylor Ward getting acquired, Pete Alonso being brought in especially, and Dylan Beavers, his bat last year, are just taking away spots for Coby Mayo to compete for, and I just don't know if Coby Mayo is going to be on the roster come first day of the season. We don't know if he's going to be there. I think he gets moved. I think he gets moved before spring training.
Yeah, I think outside of Eugenio Suarez, in terms of corner infielders who are really sought after, Taylor Ward was up there, and the Orioles going out and getting him was kind of a nail in the coffin for someone like Coby Mayo. Also a corner infielder, also a productive bat, obviously.
Oh, Taylor Ward's an outfielder. Corey. Taylor Ward's an outfielder.
What am I thinking?
Corner outfielder.
Who am I getting him mixed up with? Well, that works out. All right. Well, nonetheless, another bat, right? And I think Coby Mayo, I think he wants out. I would say he wants out with all the different bats going in there right now, and there's not a whole lot of opportunity for him. Yeah, that's fair enough. So there's your riser and your faller. Those are our risers and fallers.
The guys that got on their roster, I mean, Adley Rutschman is blocked right now because his swing turned into whatever that is. Samuel Basayo is even blocked by bringing in Alonso, Ryan Mountcastle. They're all blocking each other. Yeah. It's just a giant block fest over in Camden Yards right now. But yeah, Rutschman, Basayo, Mountcastle, Alonso, Jackson Holiday, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westberg, and then a few more guys in there too. Even they brought in Leody Taveras on a minor league deal. If he has a good enough spring, he might make the roster. And then you add in Ward, O'Neill, Cowser, Jeremiah Jackson, and Beavers. That's 13.
Yeah, that's it.
Where does Coby Mayo fit?
Somewhere else.
He doesn't fit.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Fair enough. I'm curious to see what happens with the Coby Mayo thing because I doubt there's a reality where 2026 rolls around and he's just back in Norfolk, just jiving it up with the guys for another 130 games. He deserves a big league spot somewhere. I just don't think he's going to have a spot in Baltimore. All right, we're going to step aside for a quick break, hear about our podcast where you can consume all of our great content, and then we will be back for our farm features.
Did you miss the live version of our Minor League Weekly podcast? No worries. We've got you covered at Minor League Minute on YouTube and Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Then you can go back to watch or listen to the whole episode for all of your prospect and affiliate ball needs. So what are you waiting for? Go follow, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to get caught up with the latest. That's Minor League Weekly on all of those platforms.
All right, and welcome back to Minor League Weekly. We are 3/5 of the way home, and we move on to farm features. Because we have Sam here today, we're actually going to round out the rest of the National League East. And Sam will have you kick it off, Marlins hat and all, with Miami's system.
Yes, I have here I'll take off my headphones for a second just to flip this around. But I've got a very nice cream colorway hat of the old Florida Marlins. Here, sorry, I got to scoot it that way. I forget we're reversed. Florida Marlins retro logo. There's a World Series patch on the side as well. So I really like this hat. I found this probably my sophomore year of college. There was a store in the Janesville, Wisconsin mall that was selling all sorts of these kinds of hats. And I found this one, picked it out. I was like, this is it. I'm going home with you. Anywho, I'll try and keep this one quick. Miami's got in their top 5. They have 4 of their top 5 in the MLB Top 100 prospects rankings, starting off with Thomas White at 1, left-handed pitcher, currently MLB's number 22 prospect. He was a 2023 draft pick, 35th overall, competitive balance round A, and he's overshadowed by the other pitchers of this draft. Paul Skeens, Rhett Lauder, and even his minor league teammate Noble Meyer, right? They all kind of washed out what Thomas White was doing over in Massachusetts, where he got drafted out of. He finally, this season, reached both AA and AAA. And though the walks did increase year to year, so did his strikeout numbers. His hits also decreased by quite a bit. If you were to pull up his stats here, his hits year to year went from 88 last season to 55 this year in a similar amount of innings. The walks did go up, but his strikeouts increased by 25 as well. He ditched the curveball for a slider in 2024. That slider is now a 65 grade pitch. I think he profiles to be the future ace of this rotation, and his debut currently projected at 2026 for this year, but it really depends on if both of Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera get moved. I think they both could, and that might mean that Thomas White actually debuts on opening day. So I think, yes, if there is trades that he debuts this season, 2026. If there are no trades, I'm projecting 2027. Now, obviously, lockout is incoming. We don't know if there's going to be baseball 2027, but let's assume there is. If neither Alcantara or Cabrera get traded, I think he debuts 2027, or he's a late September call-up if there's injuries or whatnot. Iva Arquette, number 2 prospect in the system. He's a shortstop. MLB's 41 overall number 41 overall prospect. 7th overall pick in this past season's draft. He was a college baseball player over at Oregon State by way of Washington, and he's a tall shortstop, 6'5". Think guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Carlos Correa, the guys that are that tall, those guys are very talented with the stick. Like Iva Arquette, he profiles to be one of them. Maybe not as fast as Ellie De La Cruz. He's not really known for his speed metric, though he is fairly quick on the bases. I'd profile him closer to Carlos Correa. Hitting mechanics are a little bit more active, I should say. I think that's the right word to describe it. It's not like wild or wacky or anything like that, but more active than a guy like Carlos Correa. But he does have good bat speed. He played 27 games in my personal neck of the woods last year at High A Beloit. He went straight to Beloit. Didn't spend any time at Low A or in rookie ball. And it might have been a little too soon because he struck out 27 times in 27 games. But he's already 22, and with some mechanical work, I think we could see him sooner than his projected debut in 2028. I'm going to go September 2027 for him. I think he gets called up September 2027. Robbie Snelling, their number 3 prospect, another left-handed pitcher, and this is profiling into their strengths as an organization in their minor league system. A lot of pitching, especially starting pitching. He's MLB's number 51 overall prospect. He was originally part of the Tanner Scott trade return in 2024, and 2025 was a major turnaround season for Snelling after a rough 2024, especially pre-trade, where Robbie Snelling had an ERA above 6 in 16 starts at AA San Antonio with the Missions before getting moved in that deal. A lot of people were asking, why was Robbie Snelling appealing to a team like the Marlins? Because his pitch mix is pretty basic: fastball, slider, changeup, curveball, and he has a little bit of a sinker as well that he's been trying to mix in this season. None of it's very overpowering. He's got a lot better stuff than he does than he has velocity. He's a five pitch pitcher, and the fastball. The problem here is that the fastball is fairly appetizing to hitters. It's the strength and the problem for Robbie Snelling. As a pitcher, if your fastball doesn't move much, you need to rely a lot more on location, and he has about middle-of-the-road control in terms of his control grade. But what he does well is that he mixes up, or he keeps his release point the same so that the pitch looks the exact same out of his hand every single time. It always looks like a fastball. So it's really hard to pick up on that fastball, which would explain why batters were hitting homers off of his other stuff compared to his fastball this year. It's flat in the mid-90s, and it's kind of odd that they weren't mashing it as much, but that's exactly why. I think he's in the same boat as Thomas White. If there are trades in the rotation this year, it's 2026 when he debuts. If there's none, it's next season. Joe Max, the number 4 catcher He's MLB's 70th overall prospect, right behind Emmanuel Rodriguez, who I just talked about. He is 40-man rostered. He's the only one out of these 5 that are 40-man rostered. He's projected to begin next season in Major League Baseball. He really exploded in 2024 because that's when the power numbers started showing up, hence exploded. He tore up high A Beloit to start 2024, proceeded to hit 22 home runs at AA Pensacola. This season, started tearing up AA Pensacola, proceeded to hit 18 homers at AAA Jacksonville, right? The slash line continues to improve every single year for Joe Mack. The glove is pretty good, right? His glove is okay. His arm is 60 grade. That's where his defense really becomes good to great. But it's not really better, and nor is it really much worse than their current backup at the big league level in Liam Hicks. The question for Joe Mack is that does the bat justify the Marlins calling him up to take Hicks' playing time? Does Liam Hicks move permanently to first base because he did play 20-plus games at first base last year? Is Eric Wagman going to struggle enough to justify moving Liam Hicks? There's a lot of questions involved here, but make no mistake, Joe Mack is debuting this year, especially if he has a good spring. And then lastly, their number 5, Starlin Caba. He's a middle infield prospect, switch hitter, undersized infielder with an insane glove. So he's basically just Otto Lopez, but a few years younger, right? So their current shortstop at the big league level, and Xavier Edwards is kind of in the same boat too. Edwards definitely has the better bat, but Starlin Caba is kind of a mix of the two. He's got good hitting mechanics. He was acquired in the Jesus Luzardo trade in the 24-25 offseason with the Phillies, and he had 50 stolen bases in 2024. Only 14 last year. There's some question marks about that. Not sure why he wasn't really injured or anything along those lines. The stolen bases really fell off a cliff. He didn't get caught stealing much more compared to 2024. Just didn't really have maybe as many opportunities to steal. But he's having a terrific Arizona Fall League season. 297 average, 409, 419 for his slash with 2 homers, 10 RBIs. I guess the Arizona Fall League season is technically over. But you get the point. He had a good Arizona Fall League season. 74 ABs. I think he debuts 2029. It's a little while. He's not debuting before Iva Arquette. He's definitely not doing that. But we need to see some more development from the bat. Like I said, good hitting mechanics. But he just hasn't progressed as he's gone up in the farm system yet. Need to see more of that before Starlin Caba sees any kind of Major League Baseball time. Hidden gem here. This is a guy that was moved in 2024 in the AJ Puck trade. I think you know exactly who I'm talking about here, Corey.
Guy, man.
Davison De Los Santos. He strikes out so much, but he also hit 40 homers in 2024.
He hits nukes.
Minor league leader in home runs. He hits absolute tanks. Right? The problem is he swings at literally everything. So his numbers did hit a little bit of a brick wall this year. 914 OPS in 2024, 672 in 2025. The strikeouts did fall down, 144 to 103, but he also only played at 110 games this year compared to 137 last year. He needs another fully healthy season to figure out if he's major league ready or not. And also, another random increase here for Davison De Los Santos, just adding to the elite player that he probably will end up being because he's just going to be Ryan Howard. He's stolen bases. He had 13 combined in his first 4 years of professional ball. He had 16 in 2025 alone. Something to watch. I think he's a September call-up this year. He hits way too many tanks to just not get a shot. Right? Eric Wagman, just not the greatest bat. Liam Hicks was a solid bat, but the power wasn't really there for him. So if he starts to struggle too, Davison De Los Santos is going to be slotted in as a spot starting first baseman, maybe even a third baseman as well. But I like him as the hidden gem of the system. He's their number 22 prospect. I don't know if I said that or not.
Yeah. Quick question on the pitching, Sam, because you dove into this and did a remarkable job. Thomas White, Robbie Snelling, Sandy, and Cabrera. Is there a world where all 4 of them are in the same rotation, or is there so much talent at the pitching position that one of them is going to go via the trade?
It's so hard. It is so hard to answer that and give you the best answer possible, simply because they already have a bunch of starting pitching up at the major league level. The guys like Braxton Garrett is coming back this year. They have Max Meyer upstairs. Ryan Weathers is up there too. There's a lot of other guys that are filling out that 3 through 5 spot behind Sandy and Cabrera. You got to remember, Yuri Perez is still there too. Yuri Perez is still on the major league roster. He's going to be coming back after getting shut down from his innings limit. So I'm going to say no. You can make the case for one of Thomas White or Robbie Snelling, to be up there. I think it would be Robbie Snelling first, just because he has more upper level minor league experience. I think he would get the note first, but I struggle to see both of those guys in the same rotation as Sandy or Cabrera. I think one of them gets moved before you see both of them on the Marlins big league roster.
I like it a lot. You look at Iva Arquette. He comes from Oregon State. They've got a nice pipeline there, right? They had Adley not too long ago. They had Travis Bazzana, who was the #1 overall pick in 2024. He's fun. Same thing. Not as much as Davison De Los Santos, who's really, really fun, and I'm curious to see. It's tempting. How long can Miami lay off of just going, this is way too fun not to try? But they are competing. They hung around almost 80 wins last year. Iva could be really fun, though.
Welcome back to the big leagues, Chris Carter. And
Yeah.
that's what it is with Davison De Los Santos.
Right.
I said Ryan Howard. I think that's his ceiling, but his really quick pro player comp right now is Chris Carter. 100% Chris Carter.
I like that a lot. Good stuff. Well done. There is your look at the Miami Marlins prospect pipeline. A lot of talented pitching. Thomas White's one of the most polished arms out there right now. And I'm glad you dropped the nugget that he was 2023, because that is a loaded draft class. A lot of early call-ups in the first 2 years. You obviously had James Wood. You had Paul Skeens. You had Rhett Lauder. Dolander, who it hasn't been too smooth sailing for him in the majors, but he's skyrocketed up through the Rockies crop really quick.
Dylan Cruz is there
Dylan Cruz.
too.
You lose sight of guys like Thomas White, who have done their job and then some. There's just a few ahead of him, but I hope he stays in Miami. That would be really fun for them. For my prospect pipeline, look, my farm feature is going to be the Washington Nationals. This is really fun to almost round out the NL East. Top 5 prospects: Eli Willits, the #1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft. Someone a lot of eyes are going to be on. Big magnifying glass on this young guy for the next couple of years. How quickly is he going to rise? Is he polished enough to debut in the next couple of years? MILB.com doesn't think so. His ETA at the shortstop position, which is very fluid, he could just about play anywhere with how raw he is 2029. #1 overall pick. He jumped Ethan Holiday on some draft boards. A lot of mock drafts had the Holiday going after his brother Jackson, 3 years removed, at #1 overall. Third youngest player ever drafted in the #1 slot. He hit 350 at-bats at single A Fredericksburg. So really got that abbreviated look at pro ball, passed the eye test in a relatively small sample size. The hit tool's the main selling point here. Really mature plate discipline, which you would not expect to say about a guy who was drafted at 17 years old. You would say, oh, the whiff rate isn't great. Maybe he's swinging at the right pitches, or the chase rate's really bad. That's where the bad plate discipline comes in. So far, so good for Eli. I'm not going to overreact to literally 50 at-bats, but if plate discipline is something being brought up for a prospect as complete glove side as he is when he has the bat rested over his shoulder, I really like the long-term outlook for Eli Willits. I don't have a whole lot more on him because we just haven't seen much in terms of pro ball. So we'll see how that manifests in 2026. If he ends up being that complete player, guys, it's been a while since we've had a #1 overall pick sit and marinate for 4 full years. The game is really starting to get away from that. Jacob and I had a really good conversation last week about just the advanced analytics that scouts and teams in general have access to. Yes, there's service time manipulation, but on the flip side, if you know you've got a home run hitter, pun intended, and you have access to everything to confirm that, there's no need for somebody like an Eli Willits, if he ends up doing well in a larger sample size next year, to sit down in the minors. But he is 17, so a lot of time I could see that being the reason they're waiting until 2029, or at least that's when they think he's going to get called up. We go to the backstop position. Harry Ford, he was actually in the majors for a little bit last year, sent to the Nationals via a trade. Very unique catching prospect. So the Seattle Mariners took him 12th overall as an 18-year-old back in the 2021 MLB draft. His speed is his best listed attribute. It's a 60-run tool for a catcher. Really quick before I go on, when is the last time you've seen that? Catchers usually aren't known for speed, right? Like, that's absolutely unusual. I can't think of anybody offhand.
JT Real Muto? Maybe. I don't know.
And
I'll look at his. Maybe.
I think
that's
I honestly
maybe.
think that's being nice to JT Real Muto's speed. I don't
Yeah.
think that's trying to fluff up Harry Ford. I think that's just being nice to JT Real Muto. Even he was quick, but not that fast, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see. Now, typically one of the main reasons you don't have the run tool for a catcher is the knees start to wear out. It's a bigger, stockier frame. So the rest of this prospect profile is going to make sense. As a hitter, Ford said he feels his fast hands have given him the ability to wait a beat longer on pitch ID since he feels he can catch up a lot quicker than most guys. The longer you're able to sit back and analyze, the more you're going to walk. He's got the perspective of a catcher where he sees way more pitches than the average person, so that also helps with the plate discipline. The main focus of the offseason, here's where the speed makes sense, better framing and better blocking. He doesn't have the biggest frame. He's not the stockiest guy, so he's quick, but keeping everything in front, a la a nasty curveball in the dirt or a slider bending outside the zone, that's been a little tough for Harry. So really good hit tool. When he gets on the base paths as a catcher, he's an absolute nuisance for pitchers, which is so funny to say out loud, but more of the traditional skill set of framing pitches in, getting in sync with his battery mate, and ultimately getting in front, dropping to your knees, and blocking with a not-so-big frame. That's been a focus for Harry Ford. Number 3, Travis Sikora, one of those sexy names in the prospect pipeline market right now. Right-handed pitcher, ETA is 2027. The stuff is there. The main thing is staying on the baseball diamond for Sikora. A shade over 132 innings through 2 seasons, not great. One of the best strikeout rates over 500 qualified minor leaguers, though. So it is truly, if you can encapsulate this, if you can get everything right mechanically, if everything strength and conditioning-wise syncs up where you can get a full season of Travis Sikora, you're going to like what you see. But 1 hip surgery, some tricep soreness, and a UCL tear later, and we're still really waiting for him to put that full season together. Mid-90s fastball, a splitter with a nice low spin rate, really dives towards the last third of the path to home plate. Great at creating that deception and getting guys to chase out of the zone, thus the strikeout rate. If he can stay healthy, and that's a huge if because we just have not seen it through a couple of seasons. I know his ETA is listed as 2027, but I could also see the Nationals getting really eager to add him to that rotation if they get 70, 80, 90 strong innings. This is just someone you have to be careful with because of the past surgeries, tears, soreness, what have you. Number 4, very exciting name, especially now that he's starting to be able to command his pitches. Harleen Susana. Oh my goodness. This is not a fair comp because I think he's one of one, but this is the Nationals version of Jacob Mizorowski, right? Crazy comparison.
No, that's the more than fair comp. More than fair comp.
Like lightning off the arm. Really lengthy at 6'6", so kind of a similar profile to Mizorowski. Consistently lives above 100 miles an hour, which is really fun to see, especially in minor league baseball. Unreal K/9 numbers. The one Achilles heel, just like Miz, he can get wild with command at times, so then the walk numbers start to go up. But he's really hard to hit. So if he's hitting the zone, if he's creating deception and getting guys to chase, there's potentially a really strong mid-reliever or a starter if you can get 5-6 innings out of him at a time, or a dynamite closer. That arm is going to get put to use at some point this year. Lastly, but certainly not least, number 5, Luke Dickerson. This is a longer-term project, shortstop, 2028 ETA. Supposed to have a lot of pop for the position. Started his baseball career a little late. I just threw this in there. Was helping his high school team win a high school hockey state championship. So a lot of these guys are dual, 3-sport athletes. Really cool to see an athlete like that get out there and play the shortstop position. That tells me if he goes up to the big leagues and they tell him to shift over to third or the outfield or something, he's got a lot of tangible athleticism that shouldn't be too much of an issue. True primary tools are power and speed. The run tool is 60, the power tool is 55, but the power just didn't show up a ton in his first pro ball stint. 89 games between rookie ball and single A Fredericksburg with the Fred Nats. He hit just 208 with a 642 OPS. So scouts really like the ability to find the barrel, spray the ball to all parts of the field. It's just getting there. He hasn't been able to make a ton of solid contact so far. Your guys' takeaways before I get to hidden gems. Harleen Susana gets me really excited if he can debut, but anyone who stuck out to you boys?
That guy, especially Harleen Susana, but you think that the Nationals are watching what the Brewers do with Mizorowski is like, because with all due respect to Mizorowski, he's arguably, when he's at the top of his game, the most unhittable pitcher in baseball.
Yep.
Right? But he's also kind of the test dummy for pitchers of his kind. Mm-hmm. And Harleen Susana is the next guy up in that pipeline of these kinds of dudes, right? And really, it was more Paul Skeens was the test dummy, and the Brewers watched what they did with him, and they're starting to do things with Mizrowski, and now Mizrowski might end up actually being a bullpen arm when it's all said and done. Now the Nationals are kind of watching what the Brewers are doing with Mizrowski, and the cycle is just going to keep going and going and going. So I think whatever we saw from Skeens is what we're going to get from Mizrowski, and we might get even better from Harleen Sassano when it's all said and done. This guy is just loaded with untapped potential.
Copycat League.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you guys. I'm really, really excited to see what he brings to the table. And another name, again, you brought up Ford, with Harry Ford, with the Mariners, with the Nationals, in that trade. Very, very excited to see how he fares, and where that goes with the Nationals, with their catching spot, with Keibert Ruiz, how they utilize him with this upcoming season. If they start him in AAA, if he's going to be right there with the big club, getting those reps, kind of splitting reps with Ruiz, and how he takes over. And yeah, very interested to see how they incorporate him into that lineup.
Good stuff. I'll be quick on strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, I think polished pitching, that's a fair analysis to make. A lot of their top prospects have a strong fastball, but what sticks out to me is whatever that secondary pitch is, it's really sharp. You know, some of them, like Jackson Kent, even have 4 or 5 pitches that they can consistently hang their hats on, and they haven't debuted yet. Harleen Susana, we just talked about that fastball. Slider is a 70 grade too. I didn't even bring that up to supplement the triple-digit fastball. Sakura, nasty splitter, just got to stay healthy again. You look all the way down to somebody like their number 11 overall prospect in Jake Bennett. He's rocking an ERA in the mid-2s with that low to mid-90s two-seamer with a good amount of arm side tail. Even if a couple of these guys stay hot and they climb the ladder, I like what I'm going to see. What's up?
So Jake Bennett is actually just today, I think I mentioned it earlier, he just got traded to Boston.
He's gone.
For Luis Perales.
I missed that.
For Luis Perales. He just got traded. It was maybe 6 hours ago.
Oh my goodness. Maybe. Okay. So relatively recent. I don't feel too bad about it then. He had some tough luck. It's minor league baseball, so again, it's an experimental round for these guys, but I want to make sure before I dive in and actually say it. He's got, an ERA this last year of 2.67. No, I'm sorry. Through 2 pro seasons, an ERA of 2.67. Somehow he escaped with a record of 3-11. So in the Nationals farm system, he wasn't getting a whole lot of run support, no matter what level he was playing at. So, okay, no more Jake Bennett. I still think the pitching in general is strong. Jake Bennett, I hope you get better run support in Boston's system. Weaknesses. Thank you for that, Sam. Slugging. I ran through the top 30 prospects list for the Nationals. They don't have a lot of guys who can consistently slug, can consistently hit for power. In the big leagues, you've got your James Wood, your CJ Abrams had 19 homers last year, could be adding more power to his profile. Josh Bell actually had a nice resurgence of a season. But up and down the prospects list, the power tool for these guys is consistently 45, 50, 55. That's it. It's in that range for their top 30 list. So when you look at the future of a program that's had some really flashy farm names in the past, like Dylan Cruz, like James Wood, I don't see a lot of thumpers coming up right now, and I hope that changes for them. Otherwise, they could fall victim to being one of those teams like the Pirates, who have really strong pitching staffs in the future, but putting up 3-4 runs is way too challenging. That's your pretty close look at what the Nationals have going on. Those guys were great with their hats. Jacob and Sam, one of you guys, made the point of oh, you got a Expos shirt, and I actually do. So we're all rocking our merch today, which is awesome.
There we go. There we go. Love to see it. So got the Braves hat again.
Yep.
Again, Phillies fan here. Why have a Braves hat? My girlfriend visited Atlanta for work this past year. Went to a Braves game. Picked up a hat. It's a nice hat, a division rival. Like a hat, like a good hat. So taking a look at the Atlanta Braves here, their top 5 prospects. Going to start off with number 1, Cam Caminiti, a left-handed pitcher, number 72 MLB, number 72 prospect, 2028 ETA. He fills the zone up, lives with his fastball, mid to high 90s, very compact, quick delivery, slider change, does not have a great finishing pitch. That's still his next move. The slider got a bunch of strikeouts strikeouts with that, but still kind of waiting to get that finishing pitch. Finished 2025, 17 starts in first full action as a starter, 90 strikeouts to just 28 walks, 4 games with at least 8 Ks, and a handful of those came at the end of the season. So really developed his strikeout stuff at the end of the year. Former center fielder as well, so has some versatility, went from center field, used that arm, transitioned it to the hill, has good deception, 3/4 length release, but didn't go deep into games. I think that's really a goal for him this upcoming season. Just went a full 6 innings twice. So for them, it needs to really develop length. Similarly to Nolan McLean, we talked about that last week with the Mets and kind of his development as a two-way player. I think him focusing on pitching and that length, developing his arm, I think is the next big step. But a lot of comps with them. Again, Max Fried, who left the organization a few years ago, he's a comp for this guy. Another guy I'll get to in just a little bit with that fastball, breaking ball mix, just refining for Caminiti, but one of the best talking about lefties with White. Caminiti, very similar skills in the Braves system. Number 2 for the Braves is J.R. Ritchie, a right-handed pitcher, ETA 2027. He pitched in the Futures game along with Caminiti this past summer in Atlanta, got to showcase his skills in front of the home crowd. Ritchie, closest ETA out of the top 5, could be a name to watch with the Braves this year. Right-handed starter, middle relief. Interested to see how things break. Injuries have been a real bugaboo for the Braves, especially at the top with the major league club. So interested to see how he fix in. Another compact release. Everything's really tight to his shoulder, but has great deception. A curveball and changeup that just fall off the kitchen table, gentlemen. I mean, 140 innings last season, 140 Ks, so a strikeout per 9 innings. In AAA, he would have been second in all of the AAA, in all of the International League if he kept that up. He got promoted from double to AAA, towards the middle of the season. Sharpness, low 80s slider, could get to a true out pitch who emerge for him. So really interested to see if the Braves kind of get him up, maybe middle relief action there in the coming season. Then it is Tate Southesine, shortstop, outfielder, their recent first-round draft pick this past year in the 2025 draft. He has a 2029 ETA. Hit tool is the biggest thing that's going to keep him around. Some comps on draft night from Mark DeRosa from MLB Network talking about him. Zach Neto was his comp, has a quick bat. Control of the zone is the biggest skill right now for Southesine. Has great hands to it. Shortstop. We talked about the Mets last week with Jet Williams. He's kind of a fellow prospect comp that I would put at Southesine of what he can do with the contact, with the fielding. Again, the strikeouts, though, have to get cut down. We'll see how he does in year 2. 15 games with Augusta, 219 average. Biggest thing, again, Sam mentioned it earlier with the Marlins, the 27 Ks and 64 at-bats. Got to cut that down moving forward, but really like the hit tool, control of the zone. Has a very elongated swing, a little leg kick, a little bat wiggle. See if he cuts that down moving forward. Number 4 is Alex Lodisi, the shortstop, ETA 2028, second-round pick in 2025 out of Florida State. One of the most decorated players in college baseball this past year, winner of the Duck Howard Trophy. Some other Duck Howard Trophy winners: Paul Skeens, Adley Rutschman, Charlie Condon, all of those guys really standouts not only in the minors but in the professional game. 50 grade across the board in hits, run, defense as well. So looking for that really defining skill. Was a pitcher, third baseman in high school, was really transitioned into that middle infield, started college at North Florida, then went to Florida State, really refined his game, especially his approach at the plate. Free swinger, not a lot of walks, but finished the college season with a 692 OPS, 692 OPS. That was in 25 games for high A Rome for him. Has to cut down on the strikeouts, work the ball to all fields, but an intriguing middle infielder for the Braves. And finishing off number 5, another pick in the 2025 draft for the Braves. The 4th round pick, Briggs McKenzie, fantastic curveball. Yet to play in the minors, was in rookie ball at the end of the year, but that curveball, a lot of comps to Max Fried, a hammer curveball, as it's called, gets down, gets on the batter quickly. Fastball, low 90s, high 80s. He's topped out at 95, but as the season has gone on, velocity has dipped. So maintaining velocity from the lefty is the biggest thing. Again, Max Fried, lofty cop, but 88 Ks and 53 in the third innings as a prep lefty arm in high school. Very dominant skills. And just kind of looking at these draft picks as a whole, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but 3 out of the 5 are 2025 draft picks, and 4 out of the 5 have been drafted in the last 2 years. So the Braves have been restocking, have that number 9 pick coming up, so looking to continue to add to that top 5.
Yeah, first thoughts here, and then I'll kick it to you, Sam, is that I'm still waiting for the Braves to do this again when they have a dynamite prospect like a Ronald Acuna Jr. They're not pioneers. Teams have done it before, but buying in on a prospect as they're making their major league debut or early on, I don't know if that person is in this list, especially since some of them have ETAs of a few years from now. But thoughts in general on how it's going to impact the big league club. I was digging into this earlier when I knew you were diving into the Braves. And it's a team this year that just couldn't put it all together. They weren't really helped out by the injury bug either. Sale didn't put together a full season. We know what happened with Strider. He had a late entry and didn't look sharp at the beginning before kind of turning a corner at the end. Wins is not a great fair stat for starting pitching, but I'm going to use it here because I think it's indicative of a team that couldn't put it all together. Guys, Bryce Elder led this team in wins with 8. No starting pitcher had more than 8 wins. What does that mean? It means guys aren't going deep into games. It means they're not getting run support. And it means when one aspect of this baseball team is on, the other one isn't. So I think getting consistent pitching, getting healthy pitching, and then getting those bats to show up as well. I didn't even bring up Ronald Acuna Jr. yet. He had to have rehab starts a decent chunk into the season before he could come back and actually put together a pretty good abbreviation. I do think the Braves have been synonymous with cranking out good pitchers. Now it's hoping that these guys, whether it be a Caminiti or a Briggs McKenzie, have good habits when they're in single A, double A, triple A, high A in between there so that they can put together full seasons. R&R is good, rest and recovery, and they come back and put it together again. So my big takeaway is this is a team that desperately needs to put it all together considering all of the big league talent they have present day.
Mm-hmm. And they most certainly can put it all together, too. We saw them do it in 2021 with largely the same core of players, right? You replaced Freddie Freeman with Matt Olson. Obviously, you had your help in Jock Peterson and Jorge Soler that year. But they have good outfielders on the team this year, too. Your catcher that year was William Contreras, who was catching and DHing for that World Series team. And on top of that, too, now you had Sean Murphy instead. Plus, you also have Drake Baldwin, the Rookie of the Year this year, and some solid pitchers as well. And I think just they're so good at developing this kind of talent that just, and it's not the most superstar. Obviously, you know, you have Ronald Acuna Jr., right? That's your superstar. Matt Olson is a tier below that, I'd say. He's mostly a bat. The glove is all right, too, but he's mostly a bat. But they're so good at producing what I would consider perennial talent, as in year in and year out, they're tried and true. You know exactly what you're getting out of these guys every single year, and they're playing nearly or up to fully their potential every single year. So, and what I like to see personally is that these ETAs for the guys in the top 5 are so far away. because they have, like you said, Corey, the talent to be able to put it together on the big league roster, and just like Baltimore, get away from whatever the heck that season was last year and get as far away from it as possible, right? And they have the ability to do it quick, just like Baltimore. And they have a better farm system than Baltimore. And I like these guys more than I like Baltimore's top 5. So I think that Atlanta is poised to be another successful organization for years and years and years to come. And it's because they've just been so good at developing what I would consider calling them perennial talents.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sam. And what I was going to bring up with their strengths for that development. Austin Riley, 2017, was the 13th prospect in the system, rose out of it the next 2 seasons, and has become, an all-star third baseman that has garnered top 5 third baseman in the league type of conversation. Spencer Schwellenbach, AJ Smith-Shawver, very similar stories with the Braves kind of development staff, quick strides, finding that release point, finding that pitch to take them to the next level, and both of them projected to be in that rotation for this team moving forward. 5 of the top 15 prospects in 2024 are in the bigs right now. So that churning out of guys is very quick for Atlanta. A weakness is the signature hit profile for the hit tool. South of knees, great speed. Baldwin, who just graduated, had that fantastic hit tool, but a lot of pitchers at the top of this Braves list. Of course, again, Baldwin graduating. They have some young players coming through. So I think that's an area at number 9 that they could look to improve on. Of course, thank you, Froggy Fresh in the chat. Ha-Sung Kim coming back to Atlanta as well. So that's a guy that, maybe some incentive to bring him back with a little bit of a lack of the players coming up. Before I hold off here on the Braves, underrated player to watch, very similar to De Los Santos with the pop, is David McCabe, the 4th round draft pick for the Braves back in 2022. 6'3". We're talking about mammoths as the episode, guys. Big guys on the corners of the infield. McCabe, big third baseman who has played first, has potential with his power and patience. Quick hands, low through the zone. The bat is low right above the shoulders, but when it flies through the zone, the ball is gone in an instant. Fell down from 12 to 29 in the system following an injury-filled 2024 where he only played 36 games, but the raw power that lacks at the top of the system. He's a guy that could look to get promoted to AAA Gwinnett, had 14 home runs, 71 RBIs this past season, and had Tommy John surgery out of a position player. We talked about it earlier with pitchers. He had it as an infielder, corner infielder. So see if, again, injuries which have troubled the Braves, if that could prompt him to be brought up at some point for a debut in 2026.
Big guys is the theme. Very well done, Jacob. Appreciate you doing that. And the 3 of us got together as this week started, or I guess the cycle going into this week started. This was like Tuesday, Wednesday last week. And I was like, I'll take the Nationals. Sam took the Marlins. And it didn't dawn upon me until like a day after you sent the message, the Braves gif. I'm like, I just asked Jacob to cover his rival. And you did very well. So awesome stuff, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, you got to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Isn't that right?
Exactly.
Well put. Good stuff. So those are your 3 farm features. I'm thinking we kick it to the AL East next week. So we'll kind of keep it even between the American League and the National League. And speaking of keeping things even, we are finishing out our AAA title team series. It was the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Talked a lot about the Marlins, courtesy of Sam today. We were talking a bit about their pitching crop last week, Thomas White and company, and how that pitching staff, despite, and Jacob, credit to you for dropping this, leading the International League in intentional walks, and also having a pretty much bottom third offense in most statistical categories, they won the whole thing on the back of their strength of pitching. So really interesting there. This team that we're covering is the Las Vegas Aviators. AAA title team we're covering for today. They claimed their first title since 1988. They battered the Tacoma Rainiers 7-3 in the title game. Home runs from 17th ranked A's prospect Ryan Lasko and Luke Mann. Cool moment for Russ Langer, who's been the Aviators play-by-play voice for the last 25 years. got to call his first title with the team. He just missed that 1988 window when he took over for them 25 years ago. Led the Pacific Coast League in runs, hits, and average. So kind of a stark contrast from the Jumbo Shrimp team we talked about last week, where it was a heavy reliance on pitching. This team has thumpers. They have guys who can slug. They have extra base hit machines. Good for the Athletics, because I know the whole moving out of the Coliseum has been a distraction, to say the very least. But now they got a lot to look forward to. They have Leo DeVries, who isn't quite there yet, but he's on his way up in their pipeline. They put up 76 wins in the bigs, and their top-end prospect talent just won a title against the rest of that league. So really promising signs for a program that's in murky waters right now, trying to figure out where their home is going to be, even though we pretty much know the answer.
Yeah.
And you want to take it?
No. Go ahead, Sam.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I like that you brought up Leo DeVries because A, he's going to be there pretty soon.
Yep.
Right. But B, the A's are actually in a very advantageous position now.
I agree.
Right. Disregard all the stuff about their relocation. Right. Disregard where they play, what their identity is right now. The Athletics at this stage of the game right now, 76 wins last year. Nick Kurtz turning into the best thing since sliced bread at first base. Solid pitching, and I think they're going to be able to take advantage, as much as John Fisher doesn't really like to spend money that much, right? I think they would take advantage of a salary cap system right now. So I have seen in the comments a little bit, I've seen people ask, or I've had people ask me this question, why not have a floor instead of a cap? You actually need both.
You do.
Let's just get that across now. Legally speaking, you do need both. One does not exist without the other. Look at the NHL, look at the NFL, look at the NBA. There is a floor in place. It's just never talked about because it's assumed that you're going to try and get as close to that cap as possible every single year to put out the best possible product on your field or court or arena, wherever you play, right? So they're going to have both. I think the A's are a team that are going to take advantage of that now. Because of the success of their AAA team, they have some spots on the roster where this year, where they're not being forced to spend a lot of money, can give these guys a shot. And then in a few years down the line from now, they're only going to be able to add on top of the success that they're building on right now. Leo DeVries is going to come up and take over at shortstop. This team is going to be very good, I think. The second they move to Vegas, watch out for the A's. They're going to be a very good baseball team again. And baseball is better. There are a few teams that you can say this about. Only a few. Yep. The A's are one of them. Baseball is better when the A's are good.
There we go. What a sentiment. Moneyball 2 was starting it. The A's. The
AJ
A's.
Preller's doing a lot for Moneyball 2. Yeah.
There we go. Exactly. Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we talked about the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, and Sam kind of went in on some of their players that really made them successful last week. For the Aviators, it was their offense. It was their offense with the guys with, of course, Kurtz was there for very briefly before they called him up and brought him up into a sensational run. But Daryl Horaez, the infielder, middle infielder, he was back and forth from the bigs. They had some guys who were making their names in the bigs. It was some injuries back and forth. So these guys, when they went down to AAA, they really tore the cover off the ball. So I think that really helped them. And we talked about Susak earlier on. With Cory, you mentioned him in the Rule 5, his production from the catcher's spot, now with the Giants. But, having that contribution all over the lineup, just huge. And yeah, they're going to have talent in waves in the next few years, from AAA to AA to trades. I think they could get involved with bringing some more young talent. Very excited about the Aviators, the A's, Sacramento, Las Vegas, wherever. They're going to be ready.
And they can thank AJ Preller in large part to that. I mean, he threw the farm at them. He said, "Give me Mason Miller, give me my big league hitters, give me my big league talent." They went out and got O'Hearn as well from the Orioles. So that just leads me to this last question as we wrap up the pod today, guys. And we've kind of talked about it, right? You're at the doorstep, but who from the AAA crop can help out the big league ball club in the short term as they look to get back into the postseason, which, look, we've seen it done before. You go back to the 2019 Nationals. They flipped it in like less than a season when they were doing bad halfway through the year. You look at teams like the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers who flipped around the whole operation in a year. It can be done when you have enough pipeline talent. Who are some names you guys want to kick us off with here? Sam, we can go you, we'll go to Jacob, and then I've got somebody in my back pocket that you think can debut pretty soon here.
I'll keep it fairly brief for the sake of time. He's kind of there already, but I've got outfielder Colby Thomas as a guy that I could see making immediate contributions. Pre-promotion last year, he had an 894 OPS and 18 home runs. And like I was just saying a little bit ago, the A's do have some spots that they're not really holes, but they're kind of thin, right? And the outfield is one of them. You have Denzel Clark, Brent Rooker's going to be your DH, and that's about it other than Lawrence Butler. So they kind of need at least a fourth outfielder, right? If you want to play Brent Rooker and right, that's on you, right? You know what you're getting from him defensively, but the bat is just too good to take it out of the lineup. And I think Colby Thomas, a solid spring for him is just going to be a confidence booster. And I could see a guy like him taking over as maybe even the third outfield spot. Who knows? Depends on what the A's do this offseason. But I think Colby Thomas is definitely an option that they can rely on going forward.
I like it.
Yeah, I think for me, we're talking about power this episode, guys. Guys with power. I'm gonna go with a guy that's nicknamed Tommy Tanks. I mean, Tommy Tanks to the bigs. Tommy White from Double-A Midland Rockhounds. I think he's in Double-A right now. He could maybe start the season in Triple-A and then get the promotion to the bigs maybe halfway through the season, but finish the year with a 311 average. Finish the year with 12 home runs. Hit 11 in high A. That power is going to play. And for an A's team with all their strengths, they got Nick Kurtz, of course, with his phenomenal play. Brett Rooker as well. You add another power bat to that 6 through 9 spot. I mean, there's no room for error for pitchers when you have that kind of pop in the lineup. So I think he's a guy that could really supplement the big club.
And between Tommy Tanks
75 home runs and 75 home runs, career 1123 OPS in college ball at NC State and LSU. That dude was a manimal in college baseball. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I love that all three of us went power, too. We got Tommy Tanks, insane college stats. Appreciate the context there, Sam. Then we have Colby Thomas that you brought up, with the outfield getting pretty thin right now in terms of the big leagues, so his point of entry is pretty accessible. I've got Henry Bolte, doubles machine, right? He was with the AAA team last year with the Aviators. OPS around 800 at the moment, hit right at 300 in AAA. You can get really excited knowing that bats like Bolte and DeVries are just waiting in the wings to make an impact on this big league ball club. And you said it before, Sam, I don't think it's going to be very long for either of those guys. Sneaky fast, too. 44 stolen bags this year. 19 triples over his pro ball career over multiple years. This is someone who's going to turn your singles into doubles, your doubles into triples. It's the hard 90 philosophy, right? And really take up some real estate in the opposing pitcher's head. He's going to be a pest with all the recent rule implementations of disengagements and pitch clocks where your hands are tied in certain scenarios as a pitcher in today's day and age. And if you have guys like Bolte getting on the base paths and being just devious towards you, I think it's going to help out a lot. I do want to quickly shout out as we wrap up this whole thing in this segment. Shout out to the development team for the A's and really the big leagues. You see somebody like a Tyler Soderstrom finally getting a full season crack at the majors, popping off. You see someone like a Nick Kurtz. You see someone like a Brent Rooker breaking out the last couple of years. These are guys who, when they finally get a chance to be in there for the majority of 162, they excel. So to your point earlier, Sam, ignore the relocation headache that has been plaguing this team for the last couple of years. They have a lot of talent coming up, and they have a lot of talent in the bigs right now. I think it's just a matter of time for them.
They're poised. They're about. I don't think this year will be a year that you could make the case that they're going to win the West and that they're going to, make some kind of deep run. They're definitely a Cinderella option this year, though. If you want to get fancy and pick a Cinderella team that could just get hot at the right time, a la 2006 Cardinals, a la 2011 Cardinals, a la, the list goes on. The Diamondbacks in 2023, right? If you want to pick a Cinderella, I think the A's make a viable case for being 2026's Cinderella team.
I like that a lot. Any last words from you, Jacob?
Yeah, right there where they have a very similar blueprint. I'm going to add in the Tigers. We saw the Tigers a few years ago with their young players, with the veterans in the mix. Yeah, buy the stock in the A's. Put the stock in the A's right now.
Feels like one of those teams that's waiting to pop. If they sneak into the AL wildcard picture, they might not go away, and they might climb their own division a lot quicker than I think people are ready to talk about, just because there's so many other things going in and around Oakland and then Sacramento and soon to be Las Vegas. But Las Vegas had the Aviators of all teams in AAA also tearing the cover off the baseball. That's going to do it for episode 2. A little bit of MLB draft order talk, Rule 5, of course, risers and fallers. We rounded out the NL East with our farm features and our second of 2 AAA title teams in the Las Vegas Aviators. That's Sam Strash. That is Jacob Smedley with me. I am Cory Sparks. Make sure you pick up the podcast on Spotify at Minor League Weekly, on Apple Podcasts at Minor League Weekly, and Minor League Minute if you've been following us on YouTube for the last year and 8 months. We will see you in a live capacity next Monday. Otherwise, you can pick up all of our content on the YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Twitter, on soon-to-be Facebook and TikTok as well. All right, have a good week. Every story starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars,
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game.